we're giving out the Nintendo Wii tomorrow morning. Are you ready?
Absolutely. It's for my wife.
Are you a good holder?
I think so.
On January 12, 2007, Sacramento radio station KDND's Morning Rave Show held an on-air contest called Hold Your Wii for a Wii. Basically, contestants in the studio had to drink as much water as they could without urinating. Whoever drank the most would win a Nintendo Wii console. Jennifer Strange, a 28-year-old mother of 3, was one of the 17 contestants that day. She was eager to win the Wii for her kids, as they were sold out almost everywhere at the time. Contestants were each handed 8-ounce or 240 milliliter bottles of water to drink at 15-minute intervals. The quantities of water got increasingly larger as the competition progressed, and people would drop out when their bladders got too full. To make contestants drop out faster, the rules kept changing. The intervals were decreased to just 10 minutes. Then eventually, the few final contestants had to finish up their bottles of water in 2 minutes. Jennifer Strange ended up coming second in the competition after drinking close to 2 gallons or 7.5 liters of water over 3 hours. She repeatedly mentioned her head hurting and feeling lightheaded, but the radio hosts didn't seem concerned.
Jennifer, I heard that you're not doing too well.
My head hurts. They keep telling me that it's the water, that it'll tell my head to hurt and then it'll make me puke, but...
Who told you that, the intern?
Yeah.
That's one of those over there?
It hurts, but it makes you feel lightheaded, so I'm not sure if I'm just like...
This is what it feels like when you're drowning. There's a lot of water inside of you.
Oh, it hurts.
They even joked about how her bloated stomach made her appear pregnant. At one point, a nurse called in warning how dangerous drinking too much water can be.
I want to say that those people that are drinking all that water can get sick and possibly die from water intoxication.
Yeah, we're aware of that. They signed releases, so we're not responsible. It's okay.
The nurse recommended giving the contestants salt or a sports drink like Gatorade to help replenish their sodium levels. But the contestants couldn't even hear the broadcast, and the advice was disregarded by the hosts. They joked several times throughout the show about contestants dying and how they were not liable because of the waivers that were signed.
Hey, Carter, is anybody dying in there?
We got a guy who's just about to die.
Oh, good. Make sure he signs
I like that we laugh at that. Yeah.
Make sure he signs the release.
Get the insurance on that, please.
At the end, Jennifer was awarded Justin Timberlake concert tickets for being the first runner-up. After the contest was over, Jennifer's head pains worsened. She called her colleague Laura Riots in tears, saying that she was suffering from an intense headache. Laura called Jennifer's mother, who rushed to her daughter's home in Rancho Cordova. Jennifer had died in her home just 6 hours after the contest ended. A coroner's report revealed that Jennifer had died of water intoxication. The rapid consumption of water created an imbalance of electrolytes, which caused the brain and cells in her body to swell. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Department announced that they would not be investigating Jennifer's death, as there was no evidence of criminal misconduct. The morning rave show was immediately cancelled, and 10 radio station staff members were fired, including the 3 on-air hosts, Adam Lucas Cox, Steve Maney, and Patricia Trish Sweet. On January 18, 2007, Jennifer's husband, William Strange, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the radio station's parent company, Entercom. The trial began in September 2009 in Sacramento. Attorney Roger Dreyer, who was representing the Strange family, argued that Jennifer's death was completely preventable and that the radio station was well aware that their contest could lead to a death. No medical professionals were ever consulted, nor was there a doctor in the studio on the day of the contest, and several contestants had complained of pain and discomfort throughout the morning. Prior to the contest starting, the hosts even mentioned the case of Matthew Carrington, a 21-year-old college student who had died of water intoxication during a fraternity hazing. The hosts used Matthew's death to depict the edginess of their contest and attract more listeners. On October 29, 2009, the jury awarded Jennifer Strange's family $16.5 million in damages and found Entercom Sacramento to be 100% at fault for her death. The KDND radio station was shut down in February 2017. In 1984, PepsiCo introduced a lottery-style promotional campaign to win market share against its rival, Coca-Cola. A 3-digit number and a cash prize amount were printed on the underside of the bottle cap of every PepsiCo drink. Each day, a different winning number would be announced, and the holders of the bottle caps could redeem a prize. The campaign was a huge success in the United States and South America, and was eventually rolled out in the Philippines in February 1992. The prizes ranged from 100 to 1 million pesos, which was the equivalent to $40,000 in 1992, and was over 600 times the average monthly salary in the Philippines at the time. Every night, the winning number would be announced on the evening news program TV Patrol. The numbers were carefully controlled, and there was a very small number of bottle caps bearing the 1 million pesos prize in circulation. The campaign was hugely popular and a massive success for Pepsi sales. Over the next few months, Pepsi increased its market share in the Philippines from 19.4% to 24.9%. By the time the campaign ended on the 8th of May, 51,000 people had won the smallest prize of 100 pesos, while 17 lucky people took home the 1 million. The Number Fever campaign was such a hit that it got extended for another 5 weeks. That's when disaster struck. On the evening of May 25, 1992, hundreds of thousands of people across the Philippines tuned into TV Patrol to see what the winning number was, as they had done every night for the past few months. That night, the number was 349. However, 349 had already been allocated as a non-winning number during the original run of the campaign, so there were 800,000 of them floating around the Philippines. Usually, only a few people would turn up to Pepsi bottling plants to collect major prizes. But that night, tens of thousands of ecstatic people came forward to redeem their prize. Some households even had more than one winning bottle cap. They all thought they had just become millionaires. An emergency meeting was called at 3 a.m. and PepsiCo Philippines executives determined a computer error resulted in the incorrect announcement of the winning number. The following morning, a different winning number, 134, was announced by the newspapers, indicating that that was meant to be the real winning number, but it just added to the confusion. A few days later, it was announced that PepsiCo would be offering 500 pesos as a gesture of goodwill to those who held 349 bottle caps. About 486,000 people accepted, but thousands of people were still demanding their rightful prize of 1 million pesos. Peaceful protests were held outside the PepsiCo head offices and the government buildings. 349 claimants formed organized consumer groups and called for a boycott of Pepsi products. However, the protests escalated and turned into violent riots over the coming months. PepsiCo executives began to receive death threats, and dozens of company trucks were attacked, overturned, or burned. On February 13, 1993, a Molotov cocktail was thrown at a Pepsi truck in Manila, and sadly, a school teacher named Anacita Rosario and an unnamed 5-year-old girl were killed, with several others getting injured. In May 1993, a grenade was thrown into a Pepsi warehouse in Davao and killed 3 employees. About 22,000 people took legal action against PepsiCo. 700 civil suits and 5,200 criminal complaints for fraud and deception were filed. A $400 million class action suit was even filed against PepsiCo in New York, but ended up being dismissed. In January 1993, Pepsi paid a fine of 150,000 pesos to the Department of Trade and Industry for violating the conditions of their promotion. In June 1996, plaintiffs in one of the lawsuits were each awarded 10,000 pesos, about $380 at the time. One lawsuit was escalated to the Philippines Supreme Court, and in 2006, it was ruled that PepsiCo could not be liable for any more damages, and the issues surrounding the 349 incident were laid to rest. In 1996, PepsiCo would be embroiled in another promotional campaign gone wrong, this time in its home country, the United States. Pepsi Stuff was the largest promotional campaign in the company's history, and another effort to win market share against its rival Coca-Cola. It was simple. Customers would accrue Pepsi points when they bought Pepsi products, which could be exchanged for items like t-shirts, jackets, sunglasses, bags, and bikes. Pepsi Stuff catalogs and order forms were distributed across the country. The total value of all the merchandise was $125 million. The The TV ad for the campaign featured a Harrier fighter jet, valued at $37.4 million at the time, and was depicted with a price tag of 7 million Pepsi points. 21-year-old business student John Leonard from Seattle, Washington, saw the ad and decided to test if he could win himself a fighter jet. Initially, he attempted to buy Pepsi products to accumulate the points, but quickly realized that he wouldn't be able to ever buy 7 million cans or bottles of Pepsi. He examined the label on the bottle and noticed fine print that revealed that Pepsi points could be purchased for 10 cents each. He realized that in theory, he could buy himself a $37 million fighter jet for just $700,000. Of course, John didn't have that kind of money, so he turned to his friend, Todd Hoffman. Todd was a millionaire businessman in his 40s. The unlikely friends met on a mountaineering trip in Alaska, where John was working as a guide. They both shared a rebellious and adventurous spirit, and Todd immediately agreed to help raise the money for the jet. With a total of 5 investors behind him, John sent Pepsi a check for $700,000, along with 15 bottle labels he had collected himself. A couple of months later, John received a letter from PepsiCo explaining that the jet was not part of the Pepsi Stuff catalog, and therefore was not able to be redeemed. They explained that the jet depicted in the ad was a joke and solely for entertainment purposes, and returned the $700,000 check. Dissatisfied, John hired a lawyer who hit back at Pepsi, pointing out that the commercial did not carry a disclaimer about the jet and demanded that they make arrangements for it to be transferred to John, or they would take legal action against them. PepsiCo went to court first to get John's claims to be declared frivolous. John responded by filing his own lawsuit demanding the jet. The case was brought to the US District Court for the Southern District of New York, where John alleged both breach of contract and fraud on PepsiCo's part. In August 1999, Judge Kimber Wood ruled in favor of PepsiCo, and it was found that the jet depicted in the TV commercial did not constitute an offer under contract law. The court also found that any reasonable person would understand that the jet was intended to be a joke and not to be taken literally. Judge Wood also added in her statement, quote, "The callow youth featured in the commercial is a highly improbable pilot, one who could barely be trusted with the keys to his parents' car, much less the prized aircraft of the United States Marine Corps." The court also found that there was no case for fraud as Pepsi never cashed John's check. PepsiCo continued to run the Pepsi Stuff campaign and aired the commercial, but updated the cost of the jet to 700 million points and added a "just kidding" disclaimer. Giving the internet the task of naming something historically hasn't gone too well. These naming contests seem to always get hijacked, resulting in a funny but sometimes inappropriate name getting voted as the winner. In 2007, Greenpeace asked the internet to name the humpback whale that was being tracked in the South Pacific Ocean. The name, Mr. Splashy Pants, won by a landslide, earning 78% of the votes. In 2016, the UK's Natural Environment Research Council famously asked the internet to name its newest ship, resulting in Bodie McBoatface winning the popular vote. The ship ended up being named after Sir David Attenborough, but its smaller, remotely operated vessel was named Bodie McBoatface. In 2011, the city of Fort Wayne, Indiana hosted an online vote to name a new government building, and the name of a real former mayor, Harry Balls, was the runaway favorite. Despite the fact that Mr. Balls was a respected mayor who served 4 terms in the 1930s and 50s, the city opted to name the building Citizen Square. Also in 2011, the city of Austin, Texas asked its citizens to rename its solid waste department. The majority of votes went to Fred Durst Society of the Humanities and Arts, after the frontman of the band Limp Bizkit. The city rejected this and decided to use the name that came in second place, Department of Neat and Clean. In 2009, Kraft decided to ask Australians to come up with the name for its new cheese flavor of Vegemite. The name that somehow had the most votes was iSnack 2.0. Kraft actually ended up going with it, and the new product was rolled out, leading to widespread confusion and outrage. It seemed that most people didn't think the name would be taken seriously. A second vote was held to fix the mistake. The ultimate winner was Cheesy Bite. Perhaps the most infamous naming contest in internet history was Mountain Dew's Dub the Dew campaign. In 2012, the fast food chain Villa Italian Kitchen launched the promotion on its website, asking fans to submit and vote for a name for the new green apple flavor of Mountain Dew that would be available exclusively at their stores. It didn't take long for 4chan users to flood the website with suggestions such as Soylent Green, Methamphetamine, Hulk's Filthy Residue, Pepsi, many granny-centric names, as well as hundreds of others that are definitely not YouTube advertiser friendly. On August 13th, 2012, an anonymous user posted about the Mountain Dew poll and urged others to vote. Mustache Man did nothing wrong to number 1. The Dub the Dew website also got hacked around this time, resulting in the addition of a Rickroll video pop-up, as well as a message at the top of the page that we also won't be risking reading out loud. The following day, Mountain Dew tweeted about, quote, losing to the internet, and how they were helping Villa Italian Kitchen handle the fiasco. The website was taken down and the campaign was not relaunched. In March 2013, the new flavor was released as simply Apple Mountain Dew, but a year later was renamed to Electric Apple. In March 2020, 32-year-old father of 3 Muhammad Shalahan eagerly called into Singapore radio station Gold 905 to play the celebrity name drop game, with the hopes of winning $10,000. Players had to listen closely to a montage of 14 different celebrities' voices, each saying a word of the phrase Gold 905, the station that sounds good and makes you feel good. Over the last few weeks, people would call in with their guesses, while those listening along would take note of any correct answers and try and piece the puzzle together. Muhammad called in hundreds of times and had made it on air twice, but on April 21st, 2020, he knew he finally had all the right answers.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to win it this time round.
Wow, I hope so. Now, I can only play you the clip once, so listen very closely. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here it goes.
Gold
905.
The station.
That
Sounds good.
And
feel good. Okay, have you got the names?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, number 1, Tony Hadley. Number 2, Madonna. Number 3, Maggie Wheeler. Number 4, Ellen DeGeneres. Number 5, Jim Carrey. Number 6, George Clooney. Number 7, David Bowie. Number 8, Belinda Carlisle. Number 9, Julie Andrews. Number 10, Lionel Richie. Number 11, Stevie Wonder. Number 12, Meryl Streep. Number 13, Michael Bublé. Number 14, Rebecca Lim.
Check with the judge now. Hey, Shalihan, you got 13 correct names, 13 of them in the correct place. Not bad. Keep working on it. All the best.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Unfortunately, he was still one answer off. On May 6th, another caller, Jerome Tan, made his guesses.
Okay, number 1, Tony Hadley. Number 2, Madonna. Number 3, Maggie Wheeler. Number 4, Ellen DeGeneres. Number 5, Jim Carrey. Number 6, George Clooney. Number 7, David Bowie. Number 8, Belinda Carlisle. Number 9, Julie Andrews. Number 10, Lionel Richie. Number 11, Stevie Wonder. Number 12, Meryl Streep. Number 13, Michael Bublé. Number 14, Rebecca Lim.
Let's hear from the judge.
Jerome said the exact same answers as Muhammad, but he was the one who ended up as the winner. Confused, Muhammad contacted the station to ask why he hadn't won, and was told that his pronunciation of the name Tony Hadley was incorrect. Here is a side-by-side comparison of how Muhammad and Jerome pronounced the name.
Tony Hadley.
Tony Hadley.
Other listeners also noticed that Muhammad had all the correct names back in April and took to social media to urge the station to make things right. Some even believed that Jerome had pronounced the name Belinda Carlisle incorrectly. Many pointed out Singapore uniquely has 4 official languages and a blend of accents, so variations of tones and pronunciations are common and accepted. However, the radio station doubled down on their decision and maintained that Muhammad mispronounced Tony Hadley and therefore could not be declared the winner. The issue was getting significant attention online, and Muhammad felt he had enough support behind him to reach out to Tony Hadley himself, the former lead singer of English new wave band Spandau Ballet. To his surprise, Tony Hadley not only responded, but sent a video confirming that his pronunciation was correct.
Hi, Mohammed Shelahan. This is Tony Hadley here from the UK. Now, I've listened back to the tape, and as far as I'm concerned, you pronounced my name absolutely correctly. Tony Hadley, you might have said Hadley, it's a slight accent, but as far as I'm concerned, you said my name correctly. So you should be entitled to whatever the prize was. I mean, I'm not an adjudicator, so I can't get involved to any extent, but as far as I'm concerned, you pronounced my name correctly.
Gold 905 acknowledged Tony Hadley's video, but reiterated that Muhammad's answer was not correct and that their decision was final. However, the station announced they would offer Muhammad $5,000 as a consolation prize, half the amount of the full prize. Muhammad was on a modest salary as a railway worker, and his wife was pregnant with their fourth baby, so he was unsure whether to accept the offer or continue to push for the full $10,000. The story had gathered even more momentum online after Tony Hadley himself backed up Muhammad, and many were calling for an apology and for the decision to be overturned. On May 22, 2020, Gold 905 finally relented and announced that they would be awarding Muhammad Shalahan his rightful prize of $10,000.